Good morning. I'm making chicken stock this morning. I realized yesterday when I made my avgo limono with the store-bought chicken stock, what a difference it makes. It really makes a big difference. It did not taste as good as I would have liked. Homemade chicken stock is so easy, and the only thing it really hinges on is whether you have storage space. I have a freezer in the basement because I've always had a freezer in the basement. You know, we used to split a cow with my aunt, and you know, it would all come back in white butcher paper, and my dad hunted, and so we had birds and venison and fish in the freezer all the time, and a garden. So, you know, you got to put those frozen peaches and frozen green beans somewhere too. But anyway, yeah, so you need space both to hold like your chicken carcasses and your stock bag, and then afterwards your many quarts of chicken stock. So it is true that you need space, but otherwise it's easy, and it's basically free because the only thing you're adding that you didn't already have that you weren't going to throw away is water. So, you know, when you start thinking in advance about how you're going to make chicken stock, then you start, you know, realizing how quickly you can accrue this stuff. So I was noticing this morning my vegetable bag is a little light on celery, but luckily I have this celery here that's really, really leafy. And you know, the celery leaves are full of flavor, so I'm gonna throw those in, and maybe a couple extra ribs. So usually what I do is I put everything in the pot and then fill it with water, which is, you know, it's like the cereal concept, right? You don't put your milk and then your cereal. But it takes a few minutes to fill this pot, and it's super heavy. See, I've got this 35-quart crab pot, and it has a lid, which is helpful. But I'm just gonna start throwing things in here. So I've got my veg, and that is like, you know, herb stems, mushroom stems, you know, the outside layer of the onions, you know, when you do that. So a couple celery ribs. You know, I've got all kinds of stuff in there. But it's, as we talked about the other day, and one of the reasons I wanted to do this again, right, is that, you know, it got kind of buried in our other discussion. And I went through it really kind of quickly and glibly, like everybody knew what I was talking about. The things that you don't want to put in your stock, vegetables, are crucifers. Everything like in the brassica family, it's going to be 2. Sulfurous, you know, crucifers, you know, broccoli, cabbage, you know, that kind of thing. You also don't want to put peppers because those are also a little too strong. But, you know, carrots, celery, herb stems, you know, mushrooms, spinach, I don't know, green beans, you know, the ends of zucchini. I don't have anything right now, but like, you know, when I peel a parsnip, I'll just do it on the board, and then I put the little peelings in the stock bag, you know, all that kind of stuff. Anything that would, you know, add vitamins and minerals and flavor is what we want. So I've got that. I also kind of usually root around in my crisper to see if there's anything extra. And like, I'm not going to use this last little bit of dill. I have another one in there, so I'm just gonna throw that in. And you know, I've got a couple extra baby carrots that have turned white again, so I'm gonna put those in. I've got some parsley that I've used most of, and you know, it's mostly stems at this point, but I might kind of pick through it and keep some of the leaves off just in case I want to use it later today. I'll throw that in a minute. And as I said, you know, I've got these extra celery bits and bobs, you know, the leaves, which are mostly useful for stuff like this. I know there are some recipes that call for them too. I think, you know, I have an ossobuco recipe that calls for just using the leaves. But I'm gonna throw in an extra one. And you know, my celery is already pretty clean because I wash my vegetables when they come in. And this isn't just because of germs, it's because, you know, a lot of the sort of decomposition pathogens, the things that are gonna make your vegetables rot in the fridge, they're soil-borne pathogens. So you wanna, you know, get those off because they'll start infecting the rest of your veg. And I also have these chicken carcasses. I have, it looks like, that's one, that's a pretty big one. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, sometimes I get these chickens and they're like 12 pounds. Oh, this is a capon. Any, you know, poultry. Capon's basically just a large male castrated chicken. And this is another chicken. So that's basically, you know, 3 large chickens. You could also, I mean, it looks like I have space for a little bit more. And you know, the other day when I said, I don't know what to do with the stuff in those, what I'm going to do with the stuff in those bags. And, you know, I should have taken out of the small bags. I've got the chicken neck from Sunday night, which is all stuck to its interior bag. Of course, I might pull this off later, give it a minute to let go of its bag. There we go, chicken neck. And then this bag too, it's sort of the gizzards and the liver. I might put that in a little bit when it starts to thaw. I might not. We'll see. Make a decision, game time decision later. Let me wash my hands. Because that was raw. What else are we gonna do? A couple bay leaves. And you know, I've got all these bags now. I'm doing this morning partially because I need the chicken stock and partially because, yeah, I got a lot to do today, don't you? I mean, it's Saturday, but this is gonna cook for like 2 hours and then you can do other stuff. I'm gonna repot some indoor plants and pot out my tomatoes that I have started. I've got this whole crazy grow op for the spring vegetables. So I'm just looking in here for some little baby / broken pieces because it's just going to be boiled, doesn't matter. So about 3, 4 bay leaves. You guys are up on the salt and pepper shelf. You're in a Victorian letter organizer, which I think is so funny. You know, you can use all kinds of things. I'm going to do about a tablespoon of peppercorns. And we've got our gray salt and our baby spoon, which I probably should use a bigger spoon for this. But so, you know, maybe a tablespoon of salt too, not a ton. I mean, this is gonna make 10 quarts, so a tablespoon of salt's not that much in the grand scheme of things. And I might add a couple of cloves of garlic, which I'm just going to, you know, cut in half because that skin, it's, you know, protective. We don't want it protected. We want it to go in our stock. That's kind of it. I mean, basically now I'm just going to finish filling up the thing with water. I mean, you see like, oh, it's really heavy. See, the chicken carcass is kind of up there. When the water gets on it, when it thaws, all of that stuff's going to relax because it's, you know, it's in this tight formation because it's frozen. But, you know, when it starts falling apart, that is definitely going to fit. No worries. And you'll just cook this for a couple hours. And then when it's finished, so simmer it, a low simmer, but it's going to take a while to bring this up to a boil. So the whole process could take about 3 hours. So just give yourself 3 hours. So bring it up to a boil, then drop down the heat to a simmer, partially cover it. You know, you don't want it, so I've got this lid. You don't want it to be openly boiling because you'll just boil away all your liquid and then you'll have to add water. And you don't want it to be totally covered because then it's gonna, like, you know, spit and sputter all over your stove. You don't want that either. And then when you're finished, you are going to want to pour it into something. You know, I usually use, I unpacked, so now I have more stuff in my kitchen. So I usually pour it into one of these big Pyrexes. This is an 8 cup. You can also do 4, you can do 1/4 at a time. And, you know, first you'll want to get rid of all of your big bits, right? And just throw them in the trash. And it's a very wet operation. So you just get all that out of there and you'll want to take your trash out pretty immediately. But pour it through a good strainer into your Pyrex, and then when you're pouring it from there into your containers, you might want to strain it again because there'll be little bits of herbs and stuff, and just pour it through another one. And then, you know, because of expansion in the freezer too, I mean, that's why this line is here. You know, they want to make sure, you know, don't fill it above the ridge because it'll expand. You know, liquids expand when they freeze because they're creating their little crystal lattice. And that's it. And it's just, you know, this is a great thing to do when you have other things to do. I even have like a face mask on. I got this moisturizing mask on, which said to tissue off the excess, which I think is hilarious because I'm 45. There is no excess when you put on a moisturizer. Anyway, so I'm just gonna get some more water in this pot and start simmering it and go about my business. And you know, you can do the same now that I've stopped bothering you. I'll talk to you later. Bye.